CantaNet is an e-learning cluster in the rural Canterbury region. It was formed this year from two previous clusters, ARACANet, that really covered the South Canterbury region, and CantaTech, which covered central northern rural Canterbury. And CantaTech was the original e-learning cluster. They formed way back in 1994, a group of 6 area schools that needed to broaden the range of courses they offered, really just for their own survival. And it was based on audio graphics, and they shared teachers, and it has grown since that time, and we now have e-learning clusters around the country. CantaNet basically covers all of rural Canterbury. It covers north, goes way up here to Cheviot and Murihiranui, down through the central Canterbury region, Oxford, Darfield, Rangiora and New Life, Akaroa over here in the east, and then southern down to the south Ashburton. We start to get into Waimate over here, sort of Timaru schools, or Waimate's down here, and we go way out to Twizel here, Mackenzie, and way down to Oamaru, which is strictly speaking isn't Canterbury, but they are part of our cluster. The foundation for all the e-learning clusters, including CantaNet, is the delivery of a distance learning program through video conferencing. That's the traditional view anyway. Things are changing slightly, and that video conferencing is starting to dominate less than it used to. Traditionally, you had a video conference maybe once or twice a week, supplemented by paper-based resources and some online learning, and that has changed a bit over the last 3 years, or actually quite considerably, but I'll go into that later on. The model of delivery is fairly simple. Basically, each school offers a course. So if you've got 11 schools, then you have 11 courses that are offered. And each school has an e-teacher that they offer up. This e-teacher is point 2, so they basically have a class. This is their online class, and they have students that enroll into their course from participating schools. 3 to 5 sites generally. We go push it a bit more than that. So numbers are usually reasonably low, so maximum 12 to 15, which makes it quite individualized in terms of learning. Now, in each school there's a very important role that's performed by a person called an e-dean. Now, the e-dean is the support person for the students, and they're a very important point of contact between the e-teacher and the students. So any problems, issues, the e-teacher communicates with the e-dean and follows up the students, and vice versa as well. CantaNet currently has, as I said, 20 schools. We have 21 courses offered. They cover a broad range, generally academic courses, sciences, social sciences, things that can't be easily taught in some of our schools, especially our smaller area schools. Enrollments are fairly healthy, I'd have to say. We have over 200 students doing these courses, both from within the cluster and outside of the cluster, but that's something I can explain later on. Things have changed recently in terms of the teaching and learning. There's less reliance on the VC, the video conference side of things. Once upon a time we had 2 video conferences a week. Teachers had 2 VCs a week, and within that time there was a lot of content delivered, and outside of that some paper-based learning, maybe a bit of online. So it was very much based on the synchronous, which is the learning at the same time. Since that point, well, in the last 3 years or so, we've moved more to a model where it's fully online. So there's an online course, it's asynchronous, usually through Moodle, learning management system. There's one video conference lesson that is less now about delivering content and more about tutorials and connecting with the students, and the teacher providing help, the students helping each other, etc. So this would now be the ideal in a way. This is what we're aiming for. Now, still some way off this, but the idea where the teacher is more a facilitator rather than delivering, and a bit more the way online learning is seen internationally. And there's no doubt whatsoever the e-learning clusters involved in the virtual learning network have moved towards this quite considerably over the last few years. This move to fully online learning, where you have the asynchronous and synchronous together, has provided some challenges that I'll go into later on. That's what this review is all about, really. Well, the leadership structure really focuses on these 2 roles here, the co-directors of e-learning. One is full-time, one's part-time. The part-time is focused on technical support and the project we're running, and the full-time role, again, the project, but also quite a large focus on the video conference program. So those two leaders work together with the schools and the principals, the e-teachers and the e-deans within the schools, and making sure everything is running smoothly and as it should be. And a governance group sits above the directors of eLearning. The two directors are also part of that governance group. Consists of those two and three principals, and also one e-dean, which is good to get that out sort of hands-on role. And they meet monthly and go over the strategic issues that need to be discussed. And it's a very important group. The key really to the leadership of the cluster, the links between the directors of the co-directors of eLearning and the schools, especially the leadership of the schools and those people who are involved in the program. Important that those lines of communication are kept open and there's regular communication going on. I think it's important we mention the virtual learning network. There's two parts to that really. One's the virtual learning network community and one's the site, which is where I'm at right now. The site really is a brokerage site for all the e-learning clusters. This is where we come to enroll all our students and our courses, or get our courses online as well. It enables all the different clusters, which I'll have a look at very soon, around the country to work together in providing courses for their students. So when I go in here, I just click on CantaNet, which is our provider. It lists all our schools. If I go into our school, I can see the course that's been offered by that school and get a bit of information on it like that. Now if I want to find a course for my students, what I do is just go to Programs of Learning, and if I put in Level 2 Geography, I've got a course which has come up here. I click and I can in theory enroll a student in that course, although they go on a waiting list and that it gets approved by the school or by the principal. There are just hundreds of courses on here. To give you an idea, if I went for a search like physics, you can see how many there are. Okay, so there are heaps. Which of course means our schools have and our students have a huge variety of courses they can possibly do in any year, which is fantastic. Well, the other part here is the eLearning community. So these are the other e-learning clusters around the country who work together, who collaborate to provide courses for their students, and now other things of course as well. But you can see the different clusters. I mean, CantaNet here, it goes down to OtagoNet, WestNet across on the west coast, Wellcom, Baylink, TerraNet, Volcanics, Coronet and FarNet up there. So you cover a lot of rural New Zealand. The community is now a trust, so it's an organisation. That trust is run by a council, and the council has a couple of principals on, and then a few other e-principals, and then there are working groups as well. Basically, the principals working together to try and improve the way we do things across the whole of the country, rather than just within our own clusters.